Yeah.
Okay, so Till did lose.
Correct.
But I wanted to just say that on my channel, I did a video, and he joined the UFC at 12-0, right? He fought Wendell Oliveira, got a draw against Dolby, decision against Ayari, and then Velikovic, which he landed a great elbow in, but couldn't finish the job.
Mm-hmm.
These are fighters that weren't even ranked. Dolby got cut.
These are guys who are good in Cage Warriors, not in the UFC.
They're good on a domestic level, not international level. Exactly.
Correct.
He then takes a very good opportunity and beats a guy that wasn't training at the time in Cerrone, who was just coming out of lightweight, and you know how big Till is. So all of this sort of thing. You can't take away he absolutely smashed him. And that is his only TKO. Other than, like, in Big Boys. He got one elbow on the ground in his first fight.
Right.
That's his only finish ever. He pieces a jab and a left and a left hand. That's all he does, striking-wise, pretty much. Sometimes a low kick. But as a Thai boxer, it really annoys me that he doesn't put the combinations together. He doesn't use the clinch game that he is exceptional at, especially the knees to the body, which he hurt Brunson with. And I was like, this is what you got to do.
Finally. Mm-hmm.
We know. I wanted to take a note out of Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blades. Curtis Blades is a far superior wrestler in my head than Derek Brunson. That could be wrong as a naive Brit with wrestling, but he looks far superior. It might just be size. Mm-hmm. But Derek was waiting for one shot the whole fight, which is an uppercut. And if you're a striker against a wrestler, which is Izzy's world, he throw a knee or an uppercut. It's kind of the run-ins. What does Till do? Nada.
Not one. Same strikes as every fight. His strikes have looked the same forever. And it's just so. There's always a moment. There's not even moments in Till fights. There's moment. Like the Robert Whittaker fight, which got one elbow, which I frankly think he was going for a straight, missed it, and his elbow hit. But I do not believe he was throwing that with it. But regardless, if he was, that's great. He's world class. But of course, there was nothing followed up with that elbow. There was not a combination. There's never any combinations with him. So, yeah. Sorry, dogs, of course, are going to bark. So
no, I got them too. Same volume as well.
Yeah.
But since then, obviously, so since Cerrone and you've got Wendell Oliveira, there is only TKOs as well. He didn't knock him out.
Wendell Oliveira, not Alex Oliveira.
No,
Wendell.
Wendell.
Not Chavez. Wendell
Oliveira.
Who knows what he's doing today?
Exactly. Since then, and then Brunson, I'm guilty of it as well because Brunson's so overlooked, and you don't give him the credit he deserves because he's not flashy at all. He's very not ill-spoken. What's the word I'm looking for? He's not outrageous at all. He doesn't sell himself. He's not marketable. Anything. He
started doing some memes. Memes are like, which Darren Till is, obviously has the advantage in there, but, he started to do a little memes.
But for someone that has fought in Strikeforce and been in the UFC for, I think, it's about 9 years now, nearly a decade.
Yeah.
And fought everyone from, like, Kendall Grove all the way.
I mean, let's go through. You just went through the list for Darren Till, which included the luminaries such as Wendell Oliveira, Justin Ayari, who got starched by Luigi Vandermini inside of a minute, and got decisioned by Darren Till on short notice, mind you. Yeah. But those were the names we heard with Till. Eked out home victory, overweight against Stephen Thompson, his best win ever, which many weren't sure of. But it's like you go with. It's just Brunson was underestimated in Strikeforce, but in Strikeforce, it's like he's facing Jacare at the height of Jacare's juice and everything. Yeah, he faced him twice and got knocked out by him twice. So a lot of people forget that Jacare can strike. So they're like, oh my God, what a joke. He got knocked out by Jacare Souza twice. Like this,
the grappler. Yeah.
Yeah, the grappler. But it's just like, you can't really, and it's like he was knocked out by Yoel Romero, knocked out by Whittaker, robbed against Anderson Silva, I think.
I agree as well. Yeah.
I didn't think it was particularly close. And then knocked out against Souza and then Izzy in back-to-back fights. The thing is, he loses in the first round, and all of these fights, other than the Yoel Romero fight, which he went to the third round, got knocked out. So quick, but every other fight wins. And it's just like we start at, besides the first couple, I mean, Chris Lieben, fine. Like but that's his debut.
Yes. I need to get these up, yeah.
Yeah, Chris Lieben, Brian Houston. So it's like, okay, that's not great. Yoel Romero obviously ate him alive. Then beats Lorenz Larkin, which I don't think people remember how good the Monsoon was at one point. And then
Herman.
Yep, Ed Herman, Sam Alvey knocked both those guys out. And Sam Alvey when he was relevant. Ron Carnero, when he was making it go like last run, not great, but knocked him out inside of a minute. And then it was the Uriah Hall fight. And that's where I was just like, okay, like this is not a great fight for him. Ends up completely blitzing him and knocking him out. The problem there was what it caused him to do the next two fights, those losses against Whitaker. And, frankly, he did it also against Izzy, but it's like he took the wrong lessons out of those quick wins. And he ended up getting very reckless and thinking the only way I'm going to win is with reckless striking. He wasn't really using his wrestling at this point, even though he was known as a wrestler. It was just like, he didn't have this like Division I. In America, we're all about Division I college wrestling. If it's not Division I college wrestling, we don't believe it exists. And it's just like, so Brunson's not this 4-time All-American at, Penn State or something, it's just like, and he just like kind of just, he looks really silly. He's got a weird body, this wheelbarrow body, like, but it's made to sling hammers and dunk people on their ass. Like it really is. It's very functional. It's like, but so it's like he has those two tough fights against Whitaker and Silva. The Silva fight, I think he learned so much from after the Whitaker fight. And like, again, I think he won that. Ends up taking Elias Theodoro to a decision, which is not easy at all after the 2-fight losing streak of Jacare and Izzy. Yeah. Ian Heinisch, again, like those are two solid wins, but no one's that impressed. And then he gets put against Edmund Shabazian. And this is where my love affair with Derek Brunson really like began. I always kind of liked him. But then we walk into this fight where the Ronda Rousey's old coach is Edmund Targaryen, whatever his name is Edmund Shabazian's coach. And I'm like, hold up, this guy is like on everywhere talking about how Edmund Shabazian is the next big thing and everything else. And he's 11-0. I think he was like 21 years old or maybe 22 at the time. Just had knocked out Brad Tavares, which is no joke at all. So that really does show you, because I think a lot of people still would pick Brad Tavares over like Brunson, which is funny to me. But it's like he knocked out Brad Tavares, the UFC record holder for decisions in the UFC now, 17. So like that's no joke for Edmund Shabazian. But it's a quick knockout, and it's like what happens when you get outside of those couple minutes. We might have another guy we have questions about that with from England that we talk about eventually. But in that Shabazian fight, I can't understand. It opens up at a plus 200. I'm like, okay, I'm all over Brunson at plus 150. The line shifts another 150 to Edmund Shabazian. The UFC's unloading all his finishes and being like, look at this highlight package, and like not even hardly putting Brunson on the poster. Honestly, it was like a Shabazian Godzilla with like little Brunson, and it's just like, the lines are, we always fade the public. I'm a betting handicapper, and we don't always, but we fade the public a lot. And particularly Derek Brunson fights and Jan Blachowicz fights, we fade the public. Because these two, for whatever reason, when they win, it's always their opponent's fault or the reason of their opponent. And we'll get into that with Till very soon here because once again, the reason Brunson won is because Till had one leg, apparently. Yeah, sure. Whatever you say, pal. But then Brunson, the only reason Brunson won against Kevin Holland, again, an underdog against Kevin Holland, is because after the fight, everybody said, oh, he just watched Marvin Vettori. And Marvin Vettori showed that Kevin Holland has bad wrestling. Hold on. Let's get this straight. Gerald Meerschaert showed that Kevin Holland had bad wrestling when Kevin Holland won that undeserved decision against Gerald Meerschaert, where Meerschaert wrestled him for 15 minutes. So Vettori didn't show anything. Meerschaert already had shown that. But it was a decision which, for whatever reason, the public doesn't seem to understand what a 5-round decision really means. Yeah. They seem to think a 2-minute victory means way more, which it's great. Yeah, but I take way more out of a 5-round decision where, first of all, Derek Brunson, I don't believe lost a round.
I think he 10-8'd 3 rounds.
10-8'd 3 rounds. And it's like, yes, you should finish him, but is anybody questioning Derek Brunson's power or finishing ability? To make it 3 10-8 rounds, more impressive to me than going out there and knocking him out in a minute 40, because it's like we don't really know what happens in that fight. We've seen how many countless highlight reel, Joaquin Buckley, Chaos Williams, these guys who come in, Alexander Hernandez, all these guys. These guys come in and it's like, wow, 4-second knockout. That was awesome. But then what? Even the best example of it, Jorge Mossvidal versus Ben Askren. Look at the shit that got Jorge Mossvidal into afterwards by getting that miracle knockout. It got him to have to fight Kamaru Usman twice and get starts in the second one. Like, I mean, it's like, talk about over your head, and that doesn't happen from a 3 or especially a 5-round decision. So Brunson gets that 5-round decision over Holland. After that fight, there starts to be the rumblings about the Till fight right after that fight. And I remember everybody's like, oh, Till's just going to punch a hole through Brunson's head. Brunson has chin issues. He's been knocked out by legends, like literal legends. He's not being knocked out by Brian Houston. He's being knocked out by Yoel Romero in the 3rd round when he was on the sauce. Robert Whitaker. I mean, like, and again,
Whitaker, who's only lost to Israel at this division, and Israel hasn't lost in this division.
And literally, the way, I don't think Brunson had ever had a worse game plan than the Robert Whitaker fight.
I agree.
Dude, it was crazy. Like, he was just like, I'm getting knocked out. Like, but Brunson is a guy who went down to Brazil and beat Lyoto Machida in a main event in Brazil and knocked him unconscious. Like, he has faced legends after legend. Lyoto Machida is still very relevant. Definitely was back then. And it's just like, he's just there's an American comic old American comic named Rodney Dangerfield. He always used to go, I can't get no respect. That is Derek Brunson. The last 5 fights, I've been able to bet him as an underdog. And it's just like, the one I was least confident in was Elias Theodorou. I really thought Elias Theodorou was going to be able to kind of just out footwork him and maneuver him. And it's like Brunson, like, was very responsible in that fight, didn't get frustrated and took the decision. No one remarked about it because it's an Elias Theodorou fight. All of those are unremarkable. Like, that's what Elias Theodorou does. It's his skill, truly, is that he makes fights unremarkable. But it's like Brunson showed, like, I'm not going to just walk into a bunch of strikes and let you go away with this. Like, he stayed contained. And it's like that continued in the Ian Heinisch fight, where he showed he has the cardio easily for 3 rounds. And 5 rounds, I think he showed the cardio in the Holland fight. So it was like over and over again, he's shown the Edmund Shabazian fight. He stopped that 3 different times. Yeah. Like, that's very difficult for the best fighters to do. And Brunson has now been able to do that in his last couple fights, because again, with Till, he had Till in trouble early. And a lot of times you think you got a guy in trouble, the adrenaline dump happens, and it's just like, all right, let's just carry it. He could have easily Kevin Holland him and just double-legged him down, stayed in side control, half guard, worked for an arm triangle a little bit. He pounded him out, and Darren Till gave up. Till gave up. And it was just like, again, like Brunson, the underdog against Darren Till, a guy who I'm not sure if he's ever attempted a takedown. I get he has great takedown defense, but you'll have great takedown defense when you face Jason Nayari's of the world and Nicholas Dalby's of the world.
See, I don't think he does have great takedown defense. I don't know where that myth's come from.
I'm not sure either. It's a number. The numbers will lie to show that, because it's like 84%, because some things that get registered as a takedown in those stats are like not even takedowns. It's like cage control. And they're like, he tried to take it down, didn't. Yeah. So it's they see the wide stance. And when he was a monster at 170, they seem to think he was so big at 170 that at 185, he's still going to be so big. And he's not a 185er.
You don't think he's, I do think he is a 185er.
I think he's a 178, unfortunately.
Yeah, he might be a tweener. He might be.
Yeah,
but
he is.
I think if Bobby Knuckles is a 185, I think Till he's bigger than Robert in size, in just physique. But Robert has developed himself better. No, and that's where Robert's better. Robert has developed his body for this division perfectly, where Gastelum hasn't. Gastelum's still a fat welterweight to me.
Yep.
Or he might be a tweener actually. And if
those guys both need the 178 division, and ironically, when they fought each other, it was like, oh, you guys are like the exact same like caliber and
tip
like
for tat. Yeah,
you're both not 185ers fighting at 185.
Exactly.
Like,
it's
just like, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say the only negative thing I can think of for Till here is that with Till over a lot of English fighters, obviously as a Brit, when you get a good British fighter, you got to back them all the way. And I still will always back Darren Till, even though he's ego-driven, he's crazy, and he's not as good as he thinks, and as good as a lot of people make out.
Let's go into that I think that goes into the coaching also. Because
I don't know how much Colin does for that, but
yeah, what's come out with the coaching and with allegedly Bisping releasing the information, it's a lot of he said, she said, and at no point is Darren Till, to my knowledge, coming out and putting a squash on this, saying, even if he said it, I don't want it to be an excuse. He is allowing it to become the narrative here, because that is what is in the best interest for the Darren Till brand, which has won one fight in the last 5 years.
Exactly. And my worry is that because he was having success in that third round, he landed some good knees in a clinch, and he landed a left hand, which Brunson said he didn't hurt him. And I'm like, he did a bit because your head went down.
Yeah, he was out. Yeah.
You felt it, mate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried that Till in his head now is going, with a torn ACL, I was fine. I'd be fine with that. Like if my leg was fine, I was defending all the takedowns. I hurt him. Look, I hurt him in that round. At the end of the first, he said he's tired.
That is. Yeah, and
it's like he's not tired. He goes 5 rounds, no problem, man. It's like stop.
Yeah, he's
stop
definitely
thinking
not
you're
tired.
this good.
He's warming up. You got to get Brunson early, or you're in trouble. I think most of the time, unless you're one of the best. And I really want to see him against Cannonier, because I just think that is the fight to make. As much as I want to see the Izzy fight, I love the confidence and everything. He's not there yet. Frankly, from a win over Darren Till at 185. Like, I just don't believe a Darren Till middleweight win after over a year off. And, the thing, and it's like we're going back and forth here, but like Brunson and Cannonier is the only fight to make. I think it could be made by the end of the year. These guys are both in their late 30s. This is the time to make the run. They both could literally stop themselves at any point. They're already calling the ambulances here. You can hear the sirens in the background. They know the violence is coming here. It literally at any point, either guy in any round could starch the other one for 5 rounds.
And I like that fight as well.
has better takedown defense than Till by far. That takedown defense against Hermanson was just Hermanson didn't know what to do. And it's just like, I don't think Brunson's quite at the point where if he can't wrestle, he loses automatically. But I think it makes it very unlikely. And so tons of questions are answered in that fight. So that's the next fight for me to make for those guys. They both deserve to fight each other for a shot at the title. And I think Israel can say all he wants about calling him Bumson. He's not wanting that fight again. He is not. I don't like
Vettori and Costa fighting him either, because they've just come off losses. So
yeah, it's just such a weird thing, but Izzy does not want either one of the rematches that he won. Like, I think both those guys have a very good chance of beating him.
As in Robert
and Brunson, I believe.
I think Robert's the best hope, to be honest. Yeah,
I agree, but I just think that Brunson can very, very likely follow. If he survives those strikes in the first round, follow Blachowicz game plan. He showed that he can copy Vettori's homework. Like, he literally looked like Marvin Vettori fighting Kevin Holland again. Like, it was just like, the secret's out. I don't care. I'm winning this fight. And that's so. But yeah, to go back to Till real quick, the reaction to this torn ACL news has been really fascinating to me. Down to the coach saying, well, if nothing else, it shows he's brave. I'm like, are we still doing this? Are we still doing this where we're not calling all these fighters brave? Like, are we really? They're all fighters. They're all combat athletes. None of them are scared. And the ones that are scared probably do better than the rest of them, frankly. Because you've heard plenty of times fighters, they're terrible. So it's like, he showed he's brave. So you're a professional at the top. You're supposedly a top 5 ranked middleweight. That's what we're being pitched you as. I believe you're a fringe 15 at best, but you're being pitched as a top 5. So your goal to come into this fight was to show you were brave. He also pulled out with a collarbone injury like a month or 2 before that. So yeah, so I'm a little bit confused here. First of all, I think he clearly rated Vettori ahead of Brunson, and he thought, I can beat Brunson on one leg. And then afterwards, the news can accidentally be leaked that my ACL and then legend status, and then we lose, and then it's accidentally leaked. I feel that is a complete sign of mental weakness from both Darren Till's camp and Darren Till especially, because he goes in with an excuse. He goes in with a reason why. Also, if it's a grade 2 tear, like that's like a mild sprain of the knee. Like, it's like, what is what is the exact MRI? Is this a complete blown out knee you're saying? And if
he
so,
looked all right. He looked all right bouncing around.
You look perfectly fine. You frankly looked, you looked out of shape. Yes, you definitely look like you enjoy a comfortable lifestyle at 185. Like, you look at his fat face and it's fat. Like, and it really was like that picture that we've seen of him sitting against the cage with his rolls and this, little bit of man boobs. And it's like, it's not a good look when you lose gassing out in 3 rounds and you look like that physically. And that's why I do believe that he would be a 170er if he was truly disciplined. And it would kind of sacrifice a lot, but I think that the benefits he had at 170, he's not beating that level at 185. He just isn't. He's beating Kelvin Gastelums of the world. He's beating like a Trevin Giles. He's beating like those types of guys where it's like, you guys aren't top 15. Like Kelvin Gastelum maybe is, but he's not 185er. So it's just like, but I hate to say it, I lost some respect for Till and his camp when this is coming out and they're double and tripling down at why it's amazing for Till that he did this.
Yeah, because if he wins, it blows him up even bigger. Oh, he won on one leg. And if he loses, it's an excuse. Oh, he only had one leg. So it's a bit of a coincidence it got leaked. It's going to be leaked no matter what. After this fight, it was always going to be leaked.
Right, exactly. And it was going to benefit Till either way. Yeah. And it's like, this is where Till could step up and say, I made the decision or own it or whatever. Like, instead, he's allowing just the narrative to play out. And it's just like, he's aware that now in a year or so when he comes back, it's off of a knee injury in a main event and all of this and that. And he's probably going to face, like, I've been saying this, he should face Nicholas Dalby because that's the level he's at. I believe Nicholas, at welterweight. He should take a year off, seriously diet, seriously, like, focus and realize I am not a 185er. I am not. And learn how to throw a combination. Because in his UFC career, I believe he's thrown 1 3-strike combination. I can
actually believe that if that was true.
It's absolutely crazy. He's like that guy you play in UFC 4 who just holds down just presses X over and over. Like once in a while adds the left bumper to get the special straight power shot. It's like, dude, you can like kick. You can like, he can do all these things, but it's like when you mix it up, that's very exhausting. And it's just like, that is not, to me, ever been a strength of Till's, is to push himself. Whether it's, whether when he's not the hammer, he's not great, or he's not great at being the nail.
No. It'd be interesting to see where it goes from here. For me, I said, I want to see him fight someone in the top, in 10 to 15 range, and he's got to fight not just one time and then jump back into top 5s. It's 3 or 4 fights now. Fight 15 to 10. That'd be the best thing for him. Non-ranked people,
like a Brad Tavares, then maybe
less. Worse than Brad. Worse than Brad. Brad, Brad could outpoint him.
Top 10. Yeah,
I know he's not there anymore, but an Elias Theodorou, those guys.
Well, Elias Theodorou hasn't been in the UFC for a long time.
That's what I mean, but that kind of standard of fighter.
He needs to get to Cage Warriors somehow.
Yeah.
Is what you're telling me. I mean, yeah, it's I mean, I am very out there and vocal. I've not been a Darren Till fan.
I know.
I just haven't. I believe that the days of the single specialist are done. We saw it with Mike Grundy too. It's like, what happened? And again, Team Capone or Team Capon, however you say it.
Calbon, yeah.
Calbon. I apologize, but Team Calbon. but again, it's like Grundy, great wrestling instructor, I'm sure. And it's like, but like for one, he's very small. So if that's who Darren Till is working on his wrestling with, that's not how Brunson's going to feel wrestling you.
He gets the Olympic GB team in, so they're the ones helping Till.
Yeah, but how much time is Till spending with that team is my question.
Exactly. Is it just for the camp, or is it out of camp as well? Is it
exactly
all year round? Is it? Yeah.
And it's just like his reactions to Brunson's double legs were his hips were going in, exactly like Holland. So I get a little of this has to do with Brunson, because I do think there's some weird kind of strength and technique he has that kind of. Got to
give him a lot of credit. Yeah.
Yeah, but I also think there's it's Till. How uncomfortable do you want to be, Till? Like, how are you willing to be uncomfortable, or are you just a guy who would rather fight guys where you can bounce on the outside, drop the left in, bounce back out, throw 20 to 30 strikes around, and land 7 to 8 significant strikes?
Yeah.
And, hope you get generous decisions like you did against Stephen Thompson, or hope that – and it's just like he has this mythical power where he has 2 KOs. So, again, when a guy is likable, when a guy has funny tattoos, when a guy has funny stories, the will of the MMA bettor is unknown. It is just unmatched. And they wanted it to be Till. Israel wanted it to be Till. Of course Israel wanted to be Till. How that would be the least thinking Israel has had to make in a fight in his UFC career, perhaps. Like, I'd have to think about who he faced like really early on, but it's like you're not like, oh, is Till going to shoot in? Is he going to clinch with me? Is he going to throw a kick? No. You have to worry about a Thai boxer who doesn't kick or knee. Like, that's Israel's dream. Israel's so upset right now because it's like he would have literally done anything to watch Till get that win, because it's like Israel Adesanya against Darren Till should be minus 500. I'm not kidding. Minus 500. Like, and it's just like, and now you see the reaction from Israel Adesanya. You see a lot of bumps in. You see a lot of, I'm not interested. Mm-hmm. Anytime a fighter tells me they're not interested, my ears perk up. Because I'm like, you're only interested in fights you're a little worried about. Like, most people, that's not just Izzy either. I think most fighters talk about a legit fighter and say they're not interested. I'm like, are you? Maybe there's a reason John Jones has disappeared from the world and wasn't interested in fighting a guy with 13 losses or however many Jan Blachowicz has. What does John Jones have to gain from that? Yeah. Nothing. Not now. No. Yeah, it's a lot of different kind of subjects, but they kind of all cross over when it comes to, the middleweight picture now. And I just think, again, for me, I am not a believer in Darren Till at middleweight. I think that his chance is 170, and I would love for Nicholas Dalby to get a chance to earn that fight. It was a draw. It was a draw. Yeah, it was a draw. Like, I don't know why.
And Dalby got cut after that.
Yeah, Dalby got cut. Had horrible personal issues. He had alcoholism. He had some incredibly tough fights in Cage Warriors. The Ryan Houston bloody affair.
Ross Houston. I was like that. Yeah, the Apollo in London.
It's like, meanwhile, Darren Till gets this princess treatment and gets to face Jessen Ayari and like all these guys, like 155ers at 179 when he was weighing in or whatever for a welter. Yeah. I'm like, this is really because Dalby doesn't have a good meme game and he doesn't talk funny and doesn't have a picture of Miley Cyrus on his arm? Like, wow, that's crazy. And again,
so you'd say to Darren now, if you were to talk to him, go back to 170.
Diet, get off the booze, because I believe he is boozing hard. That is a booze face. So I do not believe that he is sober. In all seriousness, not to make light of that issue, but seriously reconnect, become a wrestler for the next, once your knee is healed, become a wrestler for the next 6 months. Do wrestling camp only. Don't throw a strike.
Yeah, we know you can strike.
Yeah, and you can strike. Don't throw a single strike. Wrestle and diet for 6 months. Come back at Darren Till 2.0 welterweight edition. Yeah, that's the best option if you want to eventually get to a title when Usman retires, because you're not going to ever beat Usman while he's around. So
yeah, the only positive is he is young. He is young.
Yeah, but I mean, after this recovery, he's now 30. He's going to be 30.
As you say, it depends how long the recovery is. If it is,
it's going to be 12 to 16. If it's 12 to 16 months, he's 28 right now. He's 30. Yeah. And it's just like, I'm just moving over to my charger. Apologize. But like the thing is, like, you know, Father Time catches up real quick with you. And so that's kind of where I stand on Darren Till and the Brunson aftermath. I had Brunson 6 months ago when this fight was talked about, and I didn't see a lot of people on Brunson here. It was really interesting.
I'm one of them. I still had Till, you know, but I can't not back an Englishman, even though I know I'm wrong. I just can't do it.
No, I totally get it. I mean, if
we don't have many.
If there's ever a Jew in the UFC, I'm going to be all over him. Like, no, let's go. Like, we just take the Israeli and Natan Levy, and we're like, that's good enough. We'll take that. Like, he's from Israel. I don't know if he's Jewish, but we'll take him. But, like, so I'm all Natan Levy all day. I'm like, champion. So I get it. Those biases die hard. And once you cash on an underdog 5 straight times, which I have with Derek Brunson now, it's real hard to, you know, I'm not sold on who I'm picking in the Cannonier fight. I think that should be a pick'em though, and I bet Cannonier is a minus 170 to minus 200 favorite because it's Derek Brunson. Like, and it's just
he still has that underdog feel about him, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. And he loves it. Like he loves it, and he's not one of these people who just says he loves it. Like that guy's been an underdog since Strikeforce. Like his whole he wasn't supposed to be in Strikeforce either. He had when he got signed with Strikeforce, it was very short notice. And, like, he was just supposed to be, like, some guy who showed up. He wasn't even in great shape back then. Like, and all he did was wrestle. He had no striking at all, and his wrestling was ugly. Like, but he kept winning these fights. And then the UFC's like, I guess we'll take this guy who just got starched by Jacare just so that we can, like, sacrifice him to Yoel Romero. And it's 11 years later, and he's still here in the top 5 in the middleweight division, the only division he's fought for his entire time. He's not jumping to 170. He's not going to 205. He's a 185er. Yeah. Like, and it's just like, if you can stop him early, that's how you beat him. Other than Yoel Romero, have not seen one person beat Brunson when it exits the second round. Like, except
if he can get through Israel over the first 2 rounds or so, it's Brunson's fight to win.
Or if Brunson plants him with a double leg right away, and you see the back of Izzy's head touch the mat. If you see that, it's all over. Like, they can just wave if he does the old put his head back in the first round, or at any point, if that happens on a takedown, which you saw with Till in, I believe, the 3rd round where he got that double leg, he put his head back. And I was like, that's the give up. That's the give up move. Like, that's a pin. And then it was just like that nasty ground and pound. He's like, I'm not getting knocked out. Choke me. Like, I'm not getting knocked out. Choke me. And it was like that quick, not even sunk in rear naked choke. Yeah. Like, and it's just like now, you know, and the other thing, last thing on Brunson, he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yep.
No one seems to talk about that. I don't know if it's because he's not from Brazil or if he, like, what it is, but he's a black belt in not only Jiu-Jitsu, but that dude's a black belt in wrestling. And when you're a black belt in wrestling and Jiu-Jitsu and ground and pound, why are you an underdog against Darren Till?
Exactly.
Like, so
because of people like me.
Yeah, I mean, it's people like you. It's the memes out there. I'm so grateful.
It's because he's marketable, man. When you sell yourself and you talk shit.
Yep. And Brunson sometimes is kind of cringy when he talks shit too. Like, he says really dumb things that make people want to, like, root against him a little bit, or make people think, like, well, he's not well spoken, so he must not be smart as a fighter. Dude's brilliant as a fighter. Yeah. He's absolutely brilliant. His strikes are so ugly, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a way that you're not training.
Yeah.
You're not training with someone who's throwing from those angles because they're like, what are you doing? Like, don't throw like that. It's like, but when, you know, those uppercuts connect, Brunson's throwing the uppercuts, not Till.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening here?
Yeah, man. No, I love the opinion on him.
Yeah. It was a very, it's nice when you get that underdog and it goes almost exactly how you planned it to go, right down to Till will get a couple shots and Brunson will just rock it with it. And Like, it was just like I couldn't have drew it up any better. It was very enjoyable to watch. I bet the third round finish, and that was plus 1,600. Like, I went 8 and 9 on my bets on that card, and Brunson just brought it home. And it's when you get that underdog that you do not feel as an underdog, and you get the read right. But I gotta let that go now for the next fight, because I do believe they'll put Brunson against Cannonier. They don't want Brunson anywhere near Adesanya. Yeah. And the thing that's great about MMA and UFC is they don't always get what they want with that. Because if the guy keeps winning, that's the beautiful part about MMA, is that the quote-unquote worst fighter or something wins quite a bit in MMA. Like, the worst athlete or whatever, like, they win quite a bit. It's the beauty of this sport. Like,
yeah, man.
So I'm really looking forward to it. I hope Brunson doesn't have injuries. I want to see this fight in December.
I hope you're right, yeah, because Cannonier did say he's broke.
I want to see it as a main event too, and put him on. Okay. Put him on a card. It's like, I'm not sure what's going on with Adesanya and Whitaker, but it's like you're getting to a point now where I believe that Brunson will fight again before Adesanya fights Whitaker, and then whoever wins that fight is the alternate for that Brunson Whitaker or Adesanya Whitaker fight.
Yeah.
Those are the three, though. There's no one else who should be close to title contention besides Cannonier, Brunson, and Whitaker in middleweight. And those are all very difficult matchups for Israel Adesanya, by the way. Very.